All right, TGIF, the grind includes Friday. I love it, man. I love Fridays. But had a couple minutes, and I just want to talk about a couple things. Really, just one thing, really. And this is one of my favorite topics to talk about. You know, I come up with these topics based on, well, I shouldn't even say I come up with it. I talk about this stuff based on the questions that you guys have. So you can message me, you can email me, you can comment on this video with questions that you have, and I'll answer them just straight up. I mean, I don't like come up with this stuff, it's answering what you guys got. But one of the biggest things that I get inside of here and outside of here is the dangers of exercise. Whatever. But so is the dangers of exercise, and pretty much that's it. But I really feel like even outside of here, like when people meet me for the first time and they ask like what I do and all this kind of stuff, you know, people have no problem telling me how dangerous weightlifting is and how dangerous kipping pull-ups are and like all this stuff, you know, completely just obliterating my life's work based on their opinion. But all right, so there's this video. All right, so here's the deal. I just want to make sure you're taken care of. All right, so I want to make sure that you understand if you're on a dangerous exercise program or if there's anything that you need to steer clear of, or really what the real numbers are and what you need to look for in an exercise program. As we go through this, one of the main objectives that I want you to think about is that you don't need to fear something just because it's new. And when we look at exercise in a whole, we're pretty stuck in our ways. When we look at the evolution of exercise and the evolution of training and what we're supposed to do and stuff, we've talked in one of my videos before about fitness making like a full circle in its training, but a lot of people fear stuff only because it's new. They think that the way that exercise has been done, the way sports have been done, the way training has been done for as long as they've been alive, that it's okay. But in all reality, just because something's new doesn't mean that it's wrong. And then you need to look at how something's been done for that extended period of time. Put it under the magnifying glass. So I'm going to try to be fair, and I'm going to try to talk about multiple different things. And I'm really not even putting down anything at all. Like, I'm trying not to put down other sports like just because I don't play them. I just want you to understand the argument when either you're saying that these are extreme exercise programs, or whether you think that you know, somebody's trying to tell you that how your training is too extreme or aggressive. Okay. Let's look at the Ironman triathlon, all right? I'm clearly not against the Ironman. Uh-oh, UPS just showed up. I think your shirts are here. I might have to stop. If you're doing the nutrition challenge or if you did the Strong Side Showdown last week, UPS just showed up. I might have to sign for the packages. But, haha, shirts are here. But we're real casual here at Strong Side, by the way. This is like a professional video. But let's look at the Ironman triathlon, all right? I'm clearly not against triathlons at all. I've done a bunch of them. Me and my fiance did Ironman Louisville 4 months ago. I'm not against them at all. But this has been around since 1978. So the first Ironman was in 1978, and it took people like 24 hours. Seriously, it had a 24-hour time cap. Now it has a 16-hour time cap. I only had a 15-hour time cap because of the lighting or whatever, but or 16 hours. But so you have a 16-hour time cap now. It's ridiculous, like insane. It's a 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike, and then you go run a marathon, 26.2 miles, all in one session. There are constantly people passing out, dropping out, heat strokes. There's medic tents everywhere. There's medical supervision every 10 miles on the bike, every mile on the run. There's a complete medic staff. There is medical everywhere when you cross the finish line. People collapsing and falling over. You are basically living off like goos and gels and salt, and it is pure mental to get through that thing. Is anything wrong with it? Absolutely not. I mean, I really think that if you want to check the box in your life that you've done one and you want to go get that, absolutely, go get it. I think it'll make you a stronger human being by doing that. But when you cross the finish line, you're put up on a pedestal of, wow, somebody accomplished that with their fitness. But it is one of the most detrimental things that you could ever do to your body. It took me 3 months to be able to start lifting heavy again. I felt miserable for weeks. The body just breaks down. You feel horrible when you're done. Now, granted, I will give you this. Me and my fiance, we didn't run more than 10 miles getting ready for it. We did WODs all the time and lifted really heavy and just wanted to like push ourselves to be able to do it. But that's a whole lot of stress. That is pretty dangerous compared to other things that you could do. Is something wrong with it? No, but it gets kind of over-glorified, in my opinion, when that same person can talk about injury of what they can do. Let's look at the marathon. The first marathon was run in 490 BC, but that's like pretty hard to talk about because that wasn't really like a sport back then when that happened. It became an Olympic sport in 1896 is when the first Olympics was run. And let's look at running in general. So running in general, in the United States, 30 million people in America report to run 3 or more days per week. So 30 million people run 3 days a week or more. 80% of those 30 million experience one injury or more per year from running. Holy crap, that's a lot of injuries. The reason for that is the time under tension. A lot of people get a pair of shoes, and preferably, actually, most people prefer some old sneaker to go put on their foot, go run, no biomechanic understanding at all, and running is one of the most biomechanical exercises that you could do. But with no knowledge of running, no knowledge of programming or intensity, we will go run for an extended period of time. That is thousands of contractions in one setting, and the more contractions you have and the more intensity you have on your muscles, the higher the injury rate. Tons of people get hurt from injury. And at minimum, there's a lot of overuse. There's a lot of aggravation. So yeah, football. Football's been around forever. That is a full-blown contact sport that'll just beat you up. Is anything wrong with it? I wouldn't say there's anything wrong with having that sport. But if the same people that want to talk about football is a great sport want to also discuss injuries and exercise programs, well, hang on. So it's been around since 1869. That's when it was developed. So when we look at these are all pretty old sports, except for this one maybe. A lot of people have been alive for less time than the sport has been going on. So it becomes part of their life. It becomes safe. Putting gear on and smacking into each other uncontrollably hard and trying to destroy the human in front of you is glorified. And you are an excellent athlete by being able to do that. And you may or may not be. I'm just saying when we argue, shirts are coming, when we argue against injuries. So the next thing I want to do is I want to look at hospitalizations. I want to look at hospitalizations or admissions in 2009 from ages 5 to 14 years old. So the reason that I like looking at hospitalizations rather than injuries is because injuries are very hard to define. Just because you get a cut on your finger and you have to put a Band-Aid on it, is that equivalent to the same injury as breaking your leg? If my shoulder hurts, is that an injury or did I get some type of inflammation? An injury should be something that messes up your quality of life and inhibits your ability to perform daily tasks. Hang on one second, I got to sign for this. Thank you.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Glad it's Friday.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See ya.
All right.
All right, your shirts are here. Boom. All right, so anyways, looking at hospitalization and admissions, meaning that the injury was so bad that it needed to take away from the quality of life or your daily activity by admitting you to the hospital, not just I have an ailment or something. Basketball was 170,000 in a year. And remember, this is ages 5 to 14. This is not college level. This is not pro level or even high school. This is like, those numbers would get bigger, right? So basketball, 170,000 injuries in a year. Baseball, 110,000 injuries, and these are hospital admissions, and this is just in the United States. Bicycling is 200,000, football is 215,000, and soccer is 88,000. However, there's an asterisk by it because soccer in the United States has the smallest, like let's say, casting net. It has the smallest amount of people actually playing the sport than any of these other sports. So the injury rate percentage is actually higher. Soccer is the most dangerous sport that there is. It's 6 injuries per every 100 hours of exercise. What? That is horrible. I'm sorry, 1,000 hours. Sorry, 6 injuries per 1,000 hours of exercise. That's still bad. That's double the average. That's double football, which is around 2.5 to 3 injuries per 1,000 hours of exercise. So there's that. And there's all kinds of kids doing that. So I'm not saying these sports are bad. I just want to be clear that I'm not saying you shouldn't do these sports. I'm saying that the point of this video is a lot of people deter from exercise programs, which we're going to talk about in a second, because they think they're too dangerous. And we're going to talk about why they think they're too dangerous and stuff like that. But a lot of people think that kettlebell swings or burpees or pull-ups or, pushing yourself to the limit is dangerous. Is it really as dangerous as the sports that have become a commodity in America? They've become something that all of our kids are involved in. They've become something that's glorified, yet everybody's getting hurt doing it. So that's really what I'm saying. I mean, I don't have any kids, but if I had a kid, I would not have a problem with them playing any of those sports. Like, I feel like you should be in sport. You should learn new sports avidly. You should try to push yourself, is what I'm saying. But I'm also not going to say somebody shouldn't do kettlebell swings because it's bad for their shoulders. So that's the injury rate for exercise. Then let's look at weightlifting. So we get a lot of crap for this. A lot of people snatch, clean and jerk. It's too advanced. It's whatever. Okay. So first off, it's not too advanced. It's bad coaches hurt people. That's what hurts people, not the right progression of the movement to get better. So weightlifting became an Olympic sport in 1920. However, and going back to the sport being around longer than you've been alive, so most people think that it's just a way of life and it's normal just because the sport's been around forever. It did become an Olympic sport in 1920. However, it's been in and out of the Olympics, I believe, 3 times because it's not that popular. The U.S. Olympic Committee says that you have to have over 2,000 athletes in 20 countries participating on a national caliber, like the U.S. Open or something like that. You're going to have 2,000 or more athletes in 20 countries participating in it for the Olympic Committee to deem it an Olympic sport, or at least try to make it an Olympic sport. So it kind of went in and out of the Olympics like 3 times. Women weightlifting was not introduced until, Sydney, I think? But it was 2000. I think it was in Sydney. The injury rate for weightlifting, okay, is it's 0.0017 injuries. Yeah. Per 168,551 hours. And that's a legit study. So that's from Hamill in 1994. That's a legit study measuring it against other injury rates in exercise. Then let's look at the sport of fitness. The sport of fitness is super new. 2007 was the first CrossFit Games. And I'm saying the sport of fitness because the CrossFit Games is the biggest thing. That's for sure. But what about like the Wadapalooza or kettlebell competitions or any extremist, newest booty shorts and a sports bra climbing up a rope activity? All right, so something that might be new and exciting or whatever. So let's just call that the sport of fitness because it's most likely the CrossFit Games, but it could be other things that people put in that bucket that think are too dangerous. All right. 1 injury per 1,000 hours of exercise. That, if you did that 3 days a week, all right, 3 days a week. So let's say you go to your local gym that does this kind of stuff and you go Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 3 days a week. That is 1 injury per 6.5 years. One injury per 6.4 years versus 6 injuries per 1,000 hours, 215,000 ER or hospital admissions. It's not even close. And here's one thing that I want you to think about. Is when you look at this, flip this stuff around. What I think the big issue is that this stuff has been the same for so long, it's been around for so long, that people are accepting of it. They're like, okay, this is just what we do. And anything that new, exercise-wise, comes along, people lose their mind. And what I mean by that is weightlifting. Okay, well, weightlifting really started getting going in the early 1800s. And a lot of people got together and they used dumbbells or kettlebells or versions of load. And they said, hey, this is cool. Let's start lifting. Hey, let's develop a sport and let's see who can lift the most one time. Let's do that. There's nothing wrong with that. But what if they said, let's see who can lift the most 10 times? Well, you can't let go of the bar, but let's see who can lift the most 10 times. And they did that in the 1800s. And that was the competition. And that's what weightlifting meets were. And then fast forward 2007, they said, hey, let's see who can lift the most one time. Let's do a 1 rep max. And people will be like, no. You're only supposed to lift it 10 times. You're not supposed to lift it 1 for maximal load. Why not? Like, I don't understand why that can't happen. Like, it doesn't. And don't even talk about like bad form or anything like that, because that's 100% on you and your coach. And any sport with a bad coach and bad technique is going to get you hurt. So that's a pretty bland argument. But what I'm saying is that, what if instead of a 1 rep max when weightlifting was developed, it was a 5 rep max? Or what if it was intensity based? What if it was the opposite? What if weightlifting started in 2007 and CrossFit, kettlebells, TRX, whatever, started in the 1800s, and it was a way of life that was normal? And the issue is that it's new. People don't really know what to do with it yet. A big conversation is like kipping pull-ups and butterfly pull-ups, stuff like that. The only butterfly pull-ups are only like 8 years old. Like, why is that a big deal? Like, here's the deal. When you go into an orthopedic surgeon's office and you're getting your examination or whatever, look at the wall. The wall is not littered. The wall is littered with baseball teams, football teams, soccer teams that they sponsor because they want those injuries. I'm not hating on orthopedic surgeons. If I was an orthopedic surgeon, I'd probably want to have a funnel of my clients too. But they want the injuries from those sports teams to come to their office and get surgery. Okay, I'm not saying you shouldn't get fixed if you get surgery, but I'm also saying that you can't walk into an orthopedic surgeon's office and find the local CrossFit teams that they sponsor on the wall. The injury rate is too low. They're not going to do that. There's no Olympic weightlifting committee sponsored by the local orthopedic surgeon for snap tendons in your elbow, because it doesn't happen frequently enough for anybody to really care. It's just that the pocket is so small. So what promotes injury? The biggest things that promote injury. Number one is ego. That's going to get you right out of the gate. Is that if your ego is too big and you don't have enough humility to participate in it, then you're probably going to get hurt. Because the barbell is there. Can you lift it or not? The stopwatch is there. Can you perform it fast enough or not? And it tells you straight up whether you can do it or not. And a lot of people's ego get in the way, which leads to the next part. Too much, too fast. Or too fast, too quick, or whatever. They want to either get too big, too quick. They want to move too fast, too quick. What happens here is that if you've ever seen a crack on a wall, that's an exposure of a poor foundation. So if somebody hurts themselves doing something like we talk about pull-ups a lot. If somebody aggravates themselves doing a butterfly pull-up and they twinge their shoulder, I'm not saying that the butterfly pull-up didn't have absolutely zero to do with it. But then you also have to look at it and say, okay, was the athlete addressing shoulder mobility? Have they been doing enough strict pull-ups to hone their shoulder girdle to be strong enough? Was the progression in their program equally equivalent to their expression? Or did they just say, I want to express it really, really hard because my ego got in the way and it looks cool on YouTube? So, and then poor movement. I was in a conversation about this morning, but Dr. Kelly Starrett, who's the founder of Mobility Wise, he's got a couple of books out and stuff. He was asked, what are the 2 most dangerous exercises that you would like to cut out? A lot of people thought it was going to be like snatches or something like that. He said bench press and ring dips. 100% agree with that. And I mean, we do bench press and ring dips. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do them. But the idea behind that is because you don't need any movement mechanics to do that. You can have extremely tight shoulders. They can be depressed. They can rotate in. And then those 2 movements, push-ups and dips, require 0 range of motion in your shoulders. And you can do extensive load. A lot of people that do bench press cannot raise their arm in a full extension over their head, but they want to bench press 400 pounds. A lot of people can't do ring dips like this. They have to do ring dips like this. And they want to do 20 ring dips like this. And they wonder why their neck and shoulders kind of aggravate them. And poor movement. And mashed potatoes, ladies and gentlemen, mashed potatoes will ruin your life as an exerciser. And what I mean by that is proprioception of your muscles and not having enough self-awareness to keep your midline really tight. If all your cleans look like this, and you're like, just pick the bar up. If all of your deadlifts look like mashed potatoes, your wall balls look like mashed potatoes, you look so squishy. That's not what we want. We want a tight midline. And here's the deal, is when we look at all this, the question then becomes why? Why has this gotten some bad rap as an exercise program that hurts people? Why is this new exercise program or exercise with intensity? Why is exercise with intensity bad versus exercise with no intensity? Nobody's going to get hurt doing that. Nobody's going to get hurt walking on a treadmill. Nobody's going to get hurt using a machine because everything's safe. Before we talk about these things, look at this stuff. Look at these sports, I should say. The injury rate is higher. Okay, I'll give you that. But like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm going to be super fair. There's been physical therapy, there's been people messing themselves up and hurting themselves long before there's ever been physical therapists or doctors. Because people want to push themselves. If you don't push yourself, if you don't put intensity behind your training, you're not going to get anywhere. Like, I don't care what exercise program you do, you won't get anywhere without intensity. Walking around your neighborhood won't get you as fit as doing intervals around your neighborhood, even if they're walking intervals, but raising the heart rate up and bringing it down. Sitting on a machine, doing 12 reps, and sending a couple text messages in between or checking your email is not going to get you the goal that you want, rather than pushing so hard, whatever the weight is, whatever that is for you, pushing so hard to your ability level that you can't send a text message in between sets. You need to push yourself and gauge yourself. But what we've done for so long is seen exercise as something that doesn't require intensity. We've seen sport, and all we've seen is sport. And we've constantly used exercise to make you better at sport, which isn't bad. You should do that. But why can't exercise also be sport? And why can't you look at exercise as a sport and try to perform well at the task? So what happens, the why behind it, is it exposes weakness instantly. A lot of people think it's bad because they can't do something immediately. So they tend to think that it's dumb. They tend to get aggravated with it. They tend to think that because they can't do it, that it's really bad. Or that it's something new that they've never done before. It requires real work. That's another thing too. It requires extensive work to get exercise to become a sport. So typically, a lot of people use cleans or something to get better at football, which isn't bad. But cleans, snatches, when you make that a sport, that requires a lot of intensity. It exposes your weakness instantly. And it requires a lot of work to get better at just two little things, a snatch and a clean and jerk. The sport of fitness has a wide variety, whether that's the CrossFit Games or kettlebell competitions or anything. There's multiple test domains, Wadapalooza, whatever. I would put all of that in the bucket. And those have multiple domains. And it's going to expose your weakness instantly. And it's going to require real work to get better. And what I've seen over time is that people see this why, and the injury promotion is because of their ego, moving too fast, too quick, poor movement mechanics, they don't really know what they're doing, they're mashed potatoes because they're squishy, whatever. And that promotes the status of extreme exercise programs or whatever. But I'll tell you right now, no intensity, no result in anything that you do. If you don't put intensity behind any of your training, you're not going to get the results in anything that you want. I don't care if it's Zumba. I know I keep talking about Zumba, but if you walk into a Zumba class and perform it at half of your ability level, you're going to wonder why you don't look like the instructor or feel like the instructor, because you were doing it at half of your effort. Not your ability. I'm not saying that you should compare yourself to somebody else. You have to do it as good as them. I'm saying you executed it as half of what you could have done versus 100% of what you could have done. And these intense exercise programs or these high skill movements, they're not bad, but they're going to show you right out of the gate, the bar is there. Can you lift it or not? Hey, here's a workout. Complete it as fast as you can with good movement mechanics and stuff like that. Can you do it or not? And it's going to expose it instantly versus going to the gym, picking up some weights, sending some text messages. I don't know why I'm not at my goal. See the difference there? It's going to show you straight up. They're not dangerous. The injury rates are extremely low. Strong side doesn't hurt people. Our tagline is we make people better. And we truly do that. I will tell you that throughout any of this, even if all this is a bunch of jumble junk, as soon as any trainer, any training methodology, or any person that does physical activity and teaches other people how to do physical activity, as soon as they get hurts people attached to their name, they're out of business. That's the one thing that'll put you out of business. If Johnny, the personal trainer, hurts people, you're done. If Strong Side gets hurts people next to his name, done. And I don't think that anything that we do or anybody else does that encompasses this hurt people on a consistent basis, we'd still be able to operate in business. If anything, all we do is make people better, and we get to realize that we're making people do stuff that they couldn't do a week ago or a month ago because we're exposing weaknesses and eliminating those weaknesses, and we're asking it to be done with real work and intensity. So I think that should kind of prove that this stuff is not as aggressive or harmful as many people think. The numbers just don't add up. And a big thing, remember when you're talking about injuries, an injury is not my shoulder aggravates me, I did some mobility stuff and it went away. An injury is things like hospital admissions, stuff like that. But you got any questions, let me know. Groupon link is in the description of the video. And TGIF, the grind includes Friday.